Now Volkswagen is in the midst of some massive launches right now with the facelifted Golf and also the new generation of Tiguan, its global bestseller, and also the burgeoning range of all-electric ID products. Now somehow during all of this, Volkswagen has managed to squeeze out a whole new Passat, and we've come to sunny southern France to test it out for the first time. Now before we dive into the new 9th generation Passat, you'll see that VW has taken the bold strategy to sell this car only as an estate. Now this in theory should give it a bit more wiggle room considering that all electric executive cars are typically only sold in saloon form. However, it still has lots of really tough rivals in the shape of the Peugeot 508 estate, the Audi A4 Avant, the BMW 3 Series Touring and also the Mercedes C-Class estate. Now in terms of design, you can see that the new Passat has taken a bit of inspiration from the new Tiguan and also the facelifted Golf. At the front there's a full width light bar and to the rear another full width light bar, and it's actually much lower than the old car for a much better drag coefficient of 0.25 compared to 0.31 of the previous generation Passat. Now sitting in here, it actually feels very similar to the new ID7, and that's thanks to a huge 15-inch screen here, which is actually optionally available. The standard size is 12.9-inch. But still, the infotainment here is actually really easy to get your head around. All the widgets and everything are very clear. It's actually very responsive as well and quite easy to use whilst you're driving. VW is going in a new design direction for the interior with more physical controls, which we think is a good thing. But with the new Passat, it hasn't quite made that cut off, so unfortunately here are still some touch sliders, but they are at least backlit these days, so you can actually use them at night. On the steering wheel here, you've got some physical buttons, which we think are so much better than the old touch-sensitive buttons that you used to get on the previous pre-facelifted Golf. And in terms of interior quality, it's pretty good in here. Inside, you have the sliding opening cup holders there, and also a split opening armrest with a little removable pocket here, and in the back you've actually got loads of pockets on the back seats as well, and all of this sort of gives us a whiff of the Simply Clever solutions from Skoda as well. Now I'm 6'2" and I can easily sit behind myself in the back of here. There's absolutely acres of leg room, and that shouldn't be too much of a surprise given it's a lot longer than the previous car. It's also actually lower than the old car, and I don't feel like that's impacted on headroom at all. It's really roomy back here. And that actually extends to the rear as well, because there's a whopping 690 litre boot, which is actually the same as you get in the Skoda Superb estate.
Now that's not a surprise, because the new Superb and Passat are both produced at Volkswagen's plant in Bratislava, Slovakia. Skoda will probably tell you that it took the reins for the new Passat's development, and having driven the latest Superb in prototype form already, we expect good things with the new VW.
Now the new Passat actually rides on an MQB Evo platform, the same as before, but it's an evolution of that, so you might be thinking that it's called the MQB Evo, but it's not, unfortunately. Now this car actually has the 1.5 litre mild hybrid TSI unit. It's the same unit we've seen in a whole bunch of Volkswagens in the last couple of years, and it really suits the personality of this Passat, I think. It's pretty frugal and has plenty of power as well, 148 brake horsepower and 250 newton meters of torque, and it seems sort of pretty ready throughout the whole rev range. So yeah, I think the 1.5 litre TSI is still a really good engine for this car. Now we're in maximum sport mode now, and it stiffens up those dampers, adds a bit more weight to the steering and adds a bit more speed to the gear shifts. But to be honest, it's quite a firm ride in sport, and we'd recommend just keeping it in comfort mode and just having this Passat doing what it does best, which is just being a really good cruising machine. So head back into comfort and those dampers soften up, and yeah, this really is a very good ride. I've driven the new Superb in prototype form, and it seems like this is a little bit more refined than that car. There's really not that much to choose between them though. Now this car is fitted with the DCC Pro system, and that stands for Dynamic Chassis Control. That's actually the same system that we saw in the new ID7, and now we're in maximum comfort mode. The dampers are actually in their softest setting, and it really does feel quite comfortable in here. All these bumps and potholes are you just don't notice them at all. Now, I've driven the plug-in hybrid e-hybrid version as well, and what really impressed me with that car is the overall refinement of it. VW has been telling me that it's been working very hard to integrate the plug-in hybrid system with the petrol unit in that car. And what really stood out was that the fact that it's just so smooth between gear shifts and also between the two powertrains as well. There's more double glazed windows, more sound insulation, and it just seems to be very well damped, and there's virtually no wind noise coming through as well, or road noise for that matter. Now, unfortunately, you do have to change the drive modes using the screen here. It is just the button at the top, the shortcut button, so it's always readily available, but unfortunately we would just prefer a physical knob here just to make life a little bit easier.
Volkswagen is bringing two plug-in hybrids to the UK, one with 201 brake horsepower and another with 268 brake horsepower, and both are claimed to offer the same 62 miles of electric-only running, which is coincidentally identical to the Superb estate. This mild hybrid version is available to order now, while plug-in hybrids will join later on in the year. 3 TDI diesels will be offered in other markets, but not the UK, with Volkswagen saying that the most popular Passat is expected to be the lesser powered 201 brake horsepower plug-in hybrid.
Full pricing and specifications for the new Passat have yet to be announced, but we know it will kick off just over £38,000. For the similar Skoda Superb estate, we expect it to be a little bit cheaper than the VW, which could be a bit of a problem for the new Passat because on first impressions, there's actually not that much to choose between them.